Giving back to the community here in the Bay Area. I remember attending a couple of fundraisers with him and a couple of other Bay Area big stars. I'm just curious what he was like off the air, because you talk about talking to him for an hour and what you may have learned on the air. Did you learn anything off the air with him?
Well, the interview was about a decade ago now, and it was for a nationally syndicated show I was doing at the time. And I just remember that we had a good time and talked about a lot of things. But I do know that he was part of the whole Grateful Dead giving back, and part of what I originally moved to California from New York. I saw the Grateful Dead at Fillmore East. I saw them at Woodstock. I saw them at Stanford. I saw them at Winterland. I saw them at the Speedway in Monterey. The race, and so many times he was beatific in a way. He was quiet, reserved, and a really gentle person, and good to be around.
You know, I've been looking at all these pieces on him today since we learned of his passing, and there's the story that Jerry Garcia taught Phil Lesh to play the bass in like a 7-hour session. I mean, is that true?
You have that correct, Patty. It was not only just that, it was what Jerry was doing in Palo Alto. When I first moved here, I cooked in a nightclub in Palo Alto where they had played when they were not the Grateful Dead, they were the Warlocks at that point. There was a place called the Poppycock. It was like a block from Stanford where I first got to do radio because my brother was a student there. But he was brought into the band, and because he already was studying music theory, it was easy for him to pick up bass. But Jerry taught, and I felt like living where I was living and being there, I was following their trail in a way.
I'm just curious about how, because he continued to be huge when it comes to the Grateful Dead, and just carrying on that legacy with new artists. What do you think is going to happen from here on out with that band?
With the contingent that's called the Dead?
Yeah, the Dead.
He hasn't played with them for quite some time. He was doing Phil Lesh and Friends.
Phil Lesh and Friends, right. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
so I don't know what they're going to do. I do know that it was just announced that Music Cares Foundation has named the Grateful Dead their Person of the Year for 2025 for philanthropy. And Phil was a strong part of that. And I suppose that will be an event that will now eulogize Phil, because he was the heartbeat of the Grateful Dead.
Along those lines, safe to say without Phil Lesh, the Grateful Dead wouldn't be the Grateful Dead.
I don't think they would have been as big, and they're so huge that anybody who's done anything with the Grateful Dead winds up having an instant following. That was true of the late, great Merle Saunders, who did Old and in the Way and other bands. David Grisman was another person. You did something with a member of the Grateful Dead, and then whenever you played someplace, they would show up. The Deadheads would show up.
Well, what he did for bands, you did for radio. Paul Wells, our thanks to you. And looking back on the life of Phil Lesh, who died today at the age of 84. Phil, also known as Lobster, classic rock DJ and radio producer at 97.7 The River.
Right now, we are switching gears big time. We're moving over to the Money Watch with Jason Brooks. Consumers, he says, a little bit more upbeat.
Consumers are slightly more optimistic about the...
That was a good job. Maybe got one or two little things nervously wrong. I don't think Merle Saunders did much with Old and in the Way, but he's an example of certainly an example of somebody Garcia played with, like Old and in the Way and others. Now here's Pigpen. Here you are, here to say your old pal Phil is going to be on your side of things now, whether or not you're ready. You remember? And that's that.